Hey folks, I just want to remind you to like, share, and subscribe. Please like, share, and subscribe. And if you're listening to us right now on the podcast, make sure you hit that follow button and share with your friends. Let's start the show. Welcome to Thought You Awoke No Speed Limit Podcast. My name is Alvin. I hope you're having a wonderful day. And let me talk about Tommy Tuberville for a minute. This is something that is quite serious that this man has said about race. Y'all want to hear it? Here it goes.
Some people say, well, they're soft on crime. No, they're not soft on crime. They're pro-crime. They want crime. They want crime because they want to take over what you got. They want to control what you have. They want reparation because they think the people that do the crime are owed that. Bullshit. They are not owed
that. So some of y'all are probably like, what? Now, if you've seen this, some of y'all, I'm sure by now have seen this. This happened on Saturday, and it's been all over the news, but you're like, what? Right. So, I'm going to try to do this in the most Christian way possible first and bring it out like this. There's two ways that a Christian person can look at this. As Christians, we're supposed to live by faith, which leads to hope and love, right? Faith, hope, and love. Those three things are big. What Tommy Tuberville just did was the opposite of that. It's in the satanic realm as far as Christians are concerned, right? So what he just did basically was he gave out fear, anger, and hate. See, he sat there and he talked. He said, they're trying to give reparations to the people who want to take it from you, basically is what he said. People who want to take it from you. So he put fear into the people's heart. Then he turned around, that's BS. That's anger. And the cheers from the crowd rose up. But then all of that was hate. They hate the people that they're talking about, reparations. There's only two groups of people in the United States, even though there are more victims than that. There are only two groups in the United States looking for reparations in the United States. That's indigenous people and African Americans who were the descendants of slaves, right? Those are the only two groups in the United States really looking for reparations, even though they could probably give them to the people of Haiti for the $500 million that they stole when they seized the banks in Haiti some time back. But that's beside the point. You know, African Americans who have suffered because of Jim Crow laws, regardless of whether they were immigrants or regardless if they were descendants of slaves. Jim Crow laws kept a lot of black people down for over 100 years. And we had things that happened like Tulsa, Oklahoma, Rosewood. We had massacres that happened all of the Wilmington, South Carolina. We had massacres that happened everywhere. We had black towns that were destroyed in places like Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi, New York City, Manhattan. You know where Central Park is? That used to be a black city. They destroyed it and turned it into a park to erase the history of the black people there, right? So we know that they've done this. But here we got Tommy Tuberville, Mr. State Senator, calling black people criminals. So the people who want reparations, people who look like me, are criminals. I personally don't see myself as a criminal. I don't have a criminal record. I went to school. I went to college. I have a job and education and a career. So I've never had to go before the court other than for tickets like anybody else. Parking tickets, speeding tickets, whatever, and minor stuff like that. Nothing, not for a fight, not for being drunk, not for shooting, killing, stealing, or robbing anyone. I've never been to court for any of those things. Never in my life. And I'm a black man. I am not a statistic. Now, sure, he's from Alabama, or at least he's the senator for Alabama. I don't think he's originally from Alabama. He was a coach for 30 years, a football coach who, of course, he had thousands of black men go through his doors, or hundreds, and they came from all kind of walks of life, went through all kinds of situations. But here he is saying that the people who are getting reparations are criminals. It's sick. Like I said earlier, let's look at the receipts, because there are receipts that we have to look at when it comes to him. Okay. He himself was embroiled in controversy. This man himself was embroiled in a Ponzi scheme. Okay, so I'm going to show you that here. Let me just show you this here, and then we'll talk about it for a second. Now, for the people who can't see this, I'm going to read this. It says, Tuberville's actions major fraud scheme that built large sums of money from hardworking people, which can't just be swept under the rug. This was from Senator Jeff at the time. Jeff Sessions had just left. He was working under Trump as the Attorney General. Now he was running for Senate, and he used to be a senator. Now he's running against Tommy Tuberville, just to give some background. Okay, so now we'll go on. It says, this is an outstanding story, Sessions said. Based on the facts already uncovered, it is clear that Tommy Tuberville was one of two partners in a major hedge fund fraud scheme that built large sums of money from hardworking people, including Alabamians. Tuberville's partner was sentenced to 10 years in prison for the scheme by the court in Opelika, while Tuberville was sued for fraud, paying out of some money in private settlement that has been kept out of the public eye. And as Tuberville, says, this can't just be swept under the rug. It can't. Yet this man just called people who are looking for reparations criminals. I would say it's the pot calling the kettle black, but that ain't even a pot calling the kettle black. That's the kettle trying to call the pot something else. That's what that is. Seriously, that's all that is. That's the pot trying to call the kettle something totally different than what it actually is, right? We have to be honest. You have to be real. This does not look good for us as Black people when it comes to the election. There's a lot going on with the election. There's another podcast I got coming, so I can give you a little bit of information about something that will be on the ballot in particular states, not every state, but we'll be on the ballot in particular states. And, Alabama's got a lot going on right now because our voting rights right now are on the table at the Supreme Court, and it's not looking good there. We have one district in the state where Black people make up 27% of the population. We have one district that is African American. The issue, in some ways, is the way that the 14th Amendment is worded, because it says no one's right based on race, gender, sex, religious orientation, or political whatever should ever be abridged. Correct? Now, that was ignored for however long till the 60s. That's why we had to have the Civil Rights Bill in the 60s, right? Because they were basically, the South was ignoring it. Some places up north were ignoring that rule when it came to Black people. So Black people have never had proper representation. So, but the problem with the way the 14th Amendment is written, it's talking about my right to vote. So I have the right to vote, but do we have the right to districts drawn specifically for Black people? Here's the question that's coming forth. It's like, we did this fairly. I mean, they still have the right to vote, but what you've done is deluge the Black vote. We have 7 districts in the state of Alabama. One of those is dedicated to African American voters, and the distance is over 200 miles for that district. In other words, people in Birmingham, Alabama, are in the district with people in a rural town like Selma, Alabama. Selma's a small town in Alabama. It's down south. In fact, our representative, Terry Sewell, is from Selma, but she represents Selma and an area in urban areas of Birmingham, Alabama. Both areas have different needs. Yeah, sure, there are Black districts, but they both have different needs. They're not the same thing. That's why it would behoove us to have 2 separate voting districts that allow Black people to vote in those 2 districts to have their proper representation in the state. So that's 7 seats. We get 2. That still leaves the Republicans in the state, the white folks with 5 districts, all of which are represented by Republicans. Every last one of them. It's not, the system's not fair anyway. If we were talking about the other way around about party, 32% of the state is Democrats. 32% of the state. So the districts aren't drawn fairly for that either, right? Anyway, that's getting off the subject of Tommy Tuberville. Tommy Tuberville made a statement about reparations and black people. This is the constant fight. Now, he also made a statement about food stamps. He says this country can't afford food stamps. Again, that was an attack on poor people, on black people. It was an attack on poverty. It's always, for the Republicans, the problem with our country is the poor people. He was talking about unemployment. He said they're not working. That's why first of all, it's a requirement in food stamps that you at least work part-time. It's a requirement that people on food stamps actually work. In the state of Alabama that he comes from, or that he is the senator for, he claims to represent, 65,000 people are out of work out of 5 million. Out of 5 million people, only 65,000 are out of work. I think unemployment here is at 2.9%. That's really low. 715,000 people are on food stamps. So that means more people are working than not working that are on food stamps. And some of those 65,000 may be disabled, mentally incapable, have had work-related accidents, so on and so forth. There's reasons why they aren't working. But here comes Tommy Tuberville, so we can't afford to feed the poor. Everybody needs to work. You got to watch what people say and what they do. Tommy Tuberville can't talk. He's been stealing money. He was part of a Ponzi scheme to steal millions of dollars. We see what Brett Favre did over there in Mississippi, stealing millions of dollars from poor people from TANF. This is the South. This is the red South. Alabama is the 7th poorest state in the nation. It's attached to Mississippi, where Brett Favre is. Tennessee, Georgia, they're doing better. Florida to the south is doing better. But we're attached to Mississippi, which is attached to Louisiana, which is attached to Arkansas. All of those states, by the way, are some of the poorest states in the United States. They're all red states, controlled by Republicans. Sure, we have a great unemployment rate. That's why we're 7th poorest in the nation, because we're moving up the food chain a little bit, then we drop back down. We don't care about education in the state, and we definitely don't care about the poor people. We rather lock people up because we're building new jails. 56% of the prison population in the state, where black people make up 27% of the population, is brown folks, black folks. 56%. That's a telling story. Well, folks, I'm all out of time. I had what I had to say about Tuberville. I'm trying to be as nice as possible, but that was racist. Good day.
You have been listening to Thoughts You're Woke, No Speed Limit Podcast.